Today's topic, I'm going to discuss rolling over your 403b account into an IRA. Why somebody would want to do that, what is ultimately their goal that they're trying to accomplish, and where this might make some mathematical sense to leverage an IRA as opposed to just sitting in your 403b or old 403b account. And then more importantly, how to avoid the most common mistakes when individuals do this. So to help you guys itemize a few goals, understand the difference between a 403b and an IRA account. If you think of a 403b account or any sort of retirement account like a bucket, it goes by the contribution somebody's making into the plan and the rate of return that's coming back. So when somebody's working for an employer, it's typically a teacher, preacher, nonprofit organization. So it might be like the state if somebody's working for a hospital or they're working for a church organization. This might be one of the reasons why somebody would be offered a 403b account, or it's very similar to a 401k. So as this employee is working for the employer, they're making contributions into their, think of it like their bucket, their 403b bucket. And as an incentive to stay with that company, the employer would give them some sort of matching money there. So if somebody's making $100,000 and they have a 5% match and they threw $5,000 into their account as a contributions for that year, a 5% match would be $5,000 and $10,000 would go to the contribution side. So when this person starts working, let's say they work when they're 30 years old and they stop working when they're 60 years old, they would have been making all those contributions for those 30 years, and this would be adding all these positives to the bucket. So that's one side of the coin, their contributions. Now the opposite side of the coin, which is typically overlooked, is the rate of return side. When somebody's leveraging a 403b account, typically 403b accounts, you have anywhere between 15 to 25 different eggs in your basket, or think of it as investment options to choose. So you might have something from as safe as a stable value fund, which is kind of like a fixed account, to as risky as some sort of index equity-based fund, such as like an S&P 500 index fund. So meaning that if somebody went fully aggressive and they went 100% into the stock market, well, it's going to ebb and flow with the market. If, let's say, somebody was aggressive and the market went down, well, this rate of return would be negative. It would be equivalent to someone taking a sword and slicing this bucket. Now, on the opposite side, let's say if they had their money allocated into that aggressive play and the market went up, well, then they would be having large positives into this account. So it would be the combination off of the positives that they're adding from the contribution side and the positives from the rate of return side, and it's making this bucket grow fatter and fatter every year until they hit their retirement stage, where therefore it's going from a wealth accumulation phase to something known as a wealth preservation and distribution phase. I hope that this concept makes sense. It really just goes by contributions and rate of return. If your rate of return comes back negative, you're going to have less money. If your rate of return comes back positive, you're going to have more money. Contributions are ultimately the controllables. If you're contributing, you're adding dollars to that bucket. Sometimes people are getting matching money, sometimes they don't get matching money. But that's the generic concept of how a 403b account works. So now if we think of an IRA, I'm just going to say that this was a qualified traditional 403b, not a Roth, and let's say this is a traditional qualified IRA. It's going to grow by that same sort of formula, contributions and rate of return. So with an IRA. So the difference there is an individual could add contributions into an IRA. If let's say they're starting an IRA from scratch, they're going to have lower contribution limits than if they went and added dollars into their 403b account. But when it comes time for retirement, there's some sort of qualification. An individual could take all of their 403b or portions of their 403b and roll them over into an IRA account. And that's really what this video is targeting, is for those individuals that say, I have this large 403b dollars that are sitting here. Does it make more sense for me to sit into my 403b account? Or if I'm eligible, should I go and roll this over to an IRA and make sure that's going to correlate to what my goals are throughout retirement and create an actual successful retirement plan? And the reason why somebody would do this is really because of the customization of an IRA that a 403b does not have. When I mentioned how the concept of a 403b works, I said this rate of return is based on typically the 15 to 25 different options or investment options. Think of them as eggs in your basket to choose. If let's say you're trying to grow your account as large as possible, there's only so much juice that you could squeeze out of those options. You only have, X amount of options. You only have, X amount of aggressive options or fixed income options or blended options or target date funds, whatever that case might be. With an IRA, you could have thousands of different options. So this is where it could customize it a lot better. if, let's say, somebody's looking to trigger lifetime income or they're trying to create an income strategy, there's an option for that a 403b account may not have offerings of. If, let's say, they're trying to grow their monies, well, if you have thousands of combinations, thousands of eggs in your basket to choose from, you could typically choose a lower cost, higher quality options than your handcuffed 15 to 25 options. So this is why whenever somebody is eligible for that 403b rollover, whether that means they severed employment, it's sitting in an old 403b account, maybe that means the custodian that was housing the 403b account, let's say if it was the T. Rowe Price as an example, and then all of a sudden they switched to Fidelity, you might get a notice saying, hey, you've been contributing to this 403b, you're not leaving the 403b plan, you're not leaving the employer, but we're giving you eligibility to go and take your 403b or a portion of your 403b and roll it over into an IRA. Do you want to, take advantage of this? So, and then, lastly, when somebody retires, they're no longer working for that company. So that's how they're eligible to take their monies and roll it over from the 403b to an IRA. Another option might be if somebody hits 59 and a half, some employers will allow those individuals to take their money from their 403b and roll that over into an IRA. So it really just depends on your specific situation, how your employer set up their 403b account. But if you are eligible for a rollover, that could be very enticing, and there's certain strategies that you could leverage to make sure that you're creating the correct customized IRA accounts. And this doesn't just mean one 403b account to one IRA account. This could mean a 403b account, and you could now splice off into multiple IRA accounts that each IRA account is serving its own purpose. One for a max income strategy, one for a max emergency strategy, one for a max growth strategy, one for a safe growth strategy. There's a whole slew of different things you could do. So what do I mean by that? And the goals are going to correlate to something that I call the 3-thing scenario, to always make sure that you could conceptualize how an individual could properly retire. So if you're nearing retirement, currently retired, how an individual could retire forever, you want to make sure that when you're no longer working, your income is greater than or equal to your expenses every month from the date that you stop working till ultimately your date of death. So with an IRA account, you could customize these options and you could create some sort of personal pension type mechanism through IRA annuities that will trigger lifetime income starting at a specific date, whether that's immediately or at a date in the future, rather than take the risk and say, I'm going to leave my money in a growth strategy. I'm going to leave my money tied to a rate of return that's tied to investments, and the investments are going to ebb and flow. When individuals try to leverage a growth strategy, they could fall victim to something called reverse dollar cost averaging. Pulling money from an account that could potentially go down is also getting hit with fees. So this is where when you're sticking each strategy or each goal to its specific lane, you could maximize that lane more efficiently. So as an example, let's say somebody is eligible for their 403b account rollover into an IRA and they have $500,000 that's sitting there. After doing budgeting analysis, we understand that maybe this person is age 60, they're looking to retire at age 65. At age 65 until ultimately date of death, we project that they need $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year to live of income with inflationary step-ups. So there's age 60 right now. They have a balance of $500,000 sitting in their 403b account. At that age 65, they're going to be able to trigger Social Security income of $30,000. Maybe they have a pension income of $10,000, meaning that their income sources, their lifetime income streams, are only going to be $40,000. Well, they have a gap of $60,000, or they have a gap of $20,000 if they have expenses of $60,000. Basically, their guaranteed income sources are $40,000. Their expenses are $60,000. So at age 65, there's going to be a gap of that $20,000. This is where they could go and say, okay, out of this $500,000, let me go and leverage this a portion of this, the smallest amount of dollars, only as much as necessary, into some sort of lifetime income strategy. So based on what the best IRA accounts are, custom IRA accounts, you could put certain insurance mechanisms on there that say, okay, out of this $500,000, we're going to go roll over $200,000 into the top custom IRA that's going to trigger $20,000 of income starting at age 65. So it's a 5-year deferral, trigger lifetime income. If this person keeps living, they pass away, whatever's remaining in the account balance would get left over to beneficiaries. If they keep living, and they drain down their account balance, the insurance company is still on the hook to keep paying them their lifetime income stream of $20,000. Out of this $500,000, they only leverage $200,000 of it to create this IRA account that will accomplish their income-related need and make sure that they now have a baseline. They now have their safety net of Social Security income, pension income, and annuity income to produce them that lifetime income stream. Now, one of the things before I get into the stage 2, like the emergency need, the growth need, all of that, there's different ways on how someone could also leverage their 403b account as an income strategy. What do I mean by that? The difference from a distribution situation between an IRA and a 403b is an IRA has something known as 59.5 rules. A 403b account has something known as 55 rules. So where this is important is, let's say if we get an individual that's age 57 and they say, I am so sick and tired of work. I cannot stand this. I am just fucking done. I do not want to work another day, at this company, and I ultimately want to retire. Can I retire? So if we look underneath the hood and we say, okay, well, their 403b account, let's say we're using the same $500,000 number, but because they were working for some sort of employer that offered them a pension, maybe this pension is they're allowed to trigger their pension income stream at age 57, and that's going to give them $40,000 of income. They can't trigger their Social Security income till at least age 62, so that's going to be a waiting period from their age 57 to 62. And with IRA accounts, you can't start triggering income from IRA accounts until at least age 59 and a half. So in order to take their $500,000, place that into an IRA, and then try to pull out money starting at age 57 could be a disservice, because they get dinged with a 10% penalty for every distribution that they're taking if it's sitting in an IRA before that 59 and a half marker. So a way on how this could be something known as a laddered withdrawal strategy is they could leave a portion of dollars into their 403b account, siphon off those monies for the next 3 years off of, like, let's say if they have a pension income stream of $40,000 and they have expenses of $60,000. Well, then this tells us out of this $500,000, they need to at least leave $20,000 for age 57, $20,000 for age 58, and $20,000 for age 59. So this is 60 grand total that they could go and leave within their 403b account and only roll out the remaining $440,000 into various IRA accounts that will now accomplish their goal. At age 62, they could trigger Social Security income so that that could give a nice step up of income. And then at age 60, we could go and take a portion of the $440,000, whatever the smallest amount of dollars, only as much as necessary to get them to accomplish this extra 20 grand of cash flow. Maybe create a withdrawal strategy from ages 60, 61, and then at age 62, based on what the Social Security income is, you could have Social Security income that's getting triggered at 62, IRA withdrawal strategies from ages 60 and 61, and then another IRA withdrawal strategy starting at age 62 so that it correlates with the Social Security income and it correlates with that existing pension income. So if this looks like chicken scratch on the screen, just be mindful that there are strategies available that somebody does not have to roll over their full 403b account. They could actually leave a portion of dollars in their 403b account because they will not get penalized by taking withdrawals because they are at least age 55. So this is for the individual that's just really sick and tired of working. Maybe they're a spouse and their spouse is a little bit older than them and their spouse already, hit their retirement stage. So now they just kind of have this extra income and they just want to, ultimately retire earlier. That's where these sorts of mechanisms and laddered withdrawal strategies could come into place. If you have specific questions regarding lifetime income strategies or laddered withdrawal strategies and want to have a conversation based on your situation, based on your budgeting analysis, and really whether you want to retire, sooner rather than later or later, how all of that works, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. Now, another reason why somebody would take their 403b account and roll it over into an IRA is for a growth-related strategy. Somebody that says, okay, I understand with my 403b account, I'm limited with my funding options. So I now want to have an aggressive growth strategy, and I want to grow these monies better than leaving it with their 403b account. Because with an IRA, you have thousands of options to choose. So you could have, once again, those higher quality funds at a lower cost and make sure that you have better diversification than the 15 to 25 option that you might be subject to by leaving it in that 403b account. So in some instances, let's say if we have an individual that's age 60, they're eligible to roll over their 403b account, and their 403b account is sitting at $500,000. They don't have an income-related need, at that age 65, but they want to retire at age 65, but maybe at age 65 they have Social Security income and pension income, and maybe they have some sort of inheritance income or income from their spouse's Social Security or pension, whatever that is. They might not have that income-related need there. So this individual might just have a growth-related strategy in mind and say, hey, I want to grow my monies better. I want to make sure I'm padding it up, more with better diversification, something that could give me, a higher rate of return with less risk. This is where they could go take their 403b account, roll it over into an IRA, create custom investment mechanisms within this IRA. That could be a combination of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, commodities, real estate indices, whatever that case might be, and now have these monies grow better from just doing the full rollover from the $500,000 into the IRA, from the 403b into the IRA. Now, as that's happening, their 403b account balance would be sitting at $0. But they still have contributions that they could make because they're still going to be working for these next 5 years. So once again, they're making contributions into the plan, they're getting matching money into the plan, and they still have a rate of return that's subject to whatever their funding options are. So they could have their IRA account ebb and flow with the market, but be better diversified and still have the secondary 403b account that's now growing for these next 5 years that they could therefore leverage again at that age 65 mark and re-roll it into a new IRA at that point. So there's a lot of different combination of things individuals can do. From an aggressive growth play, typically an individual could find better aggressive growth strategies using an IRA because you just have thousands of more options to choose than you would with the 15 to 25 with the typical 403b account. Now, the other strategy, and this has been very popular in more recent months, are safe growth strategies. Something that a 403b account cannot offer, but IRA accounts can. The Fed has constantly been increasing interest rates, and they've been doing so for roughly about the last 12 months at unprecedented levels. So when the Fed typically increases interest rates, that puts a negative to bond values and bond-related funds. So individuals that are trying to take advantage of these higher interest rates can leverage safe growth-related strategies such as bank-related products and insurance-related products such as fixed annuities, multi-year guaranteed annuities, fixed index annuities, bank CDs, some money market accounts have been better, some savings accounts have been better, some market link CDs. And ultimately what these accounts and what these products are meant for is for the individual that says, I'm terrified of the market. I don't want to lose money. I want my account to grow at a consistent basis and to capture what these fixed rates and these fixed opportunities have been giving to these safer related products and these safer related accounts. So this is where an individual could leverage this as a diversification play. They could leverage this as a type of withdrawal strategy play where they're able, and this is something that was very popular in the 80s and 90s, where they could use fixed accounts, live off the interest on the fixed account, and then after that time horizon has been done, so like as an example, let's say if you have a 5-year fixed annuity right now that's paying over 5.25%, and an individual has $300,000 as an example, well, with a 5.25% fixed for the next 5 years, that's going to generate $15,750 of cash flow of just pure interest each year. So an individual, if set up with the correct company, the correct product line, could say, okay, I want to preserve my monies. I want to receive this cash flow for these next 5 years, receive $15,750, $15,750, $15,750 for 5 years. After 5 years, they're going to take their $300,000 and find whatever the next best solution is at that time. They could take the money and essentially walk away. So these are the opportunities where just last year, these same sorts of accounts were maybe paying 3%, three and change, 2 and change. So this is where you have a better opportunity to say, I don't want to risk my money at all with the market. I don't care whatever the market's doing, whatever it's ebbing and flowing. I just want to have some sort of fixed rate of return. Individuals can leverage fixed related accounts. If let's say they like the concept of growing whenever the market goes up, not losing dollars whenever the market goes down, that's something known as naked fixed index annuities, and they have become more popular. The higher interest rate environment has trickled down to leveraging large uncapped indexing strategies that were never available in the past. So now you could go into certain indexes that have high participation rates that your account, if the market increases, that index increases, your account's going to receive a gain. If the index crashes, you're going to gain 0%. If it gains, it's going to gain. If it gains zero, if it crashes, it's going to gain 0%. So it allows somebody to have that that mechanism to say, okay, I want to dabble in the market. I want to try to incorporate and capture that double-digit rate of return as opposed to sitting in a fixed account. But if the market goes hell in a handbasket, I'm not going to lose any value. I'm not going to lose any dollars. And a lot of these accounts also have no fees attached with them because you're not attaching riders and different bells and whistles with them. And there's hundreds of different options available for that. Out of those hundreds of different options, you might only have a dozen that are really good for a specific situation. So there's a lot of shit out there that you do not want to step into when trying to get involved in some of those fixed and fixed index accounts so that you're always able to leverage your chips the correct way. And once again, those are only set up through IRA accounts. They're not going to be set up with the options available in the 403B accounts. So that's a reason why somebody would do that rollover. Last mechanism would be Roth conversions. Basically pay taxes now for tax-free money later on. If let's say you have a qualified 403B account, pre-tax 403B account, and you open up a Roth IRA, you can be eligible to take monies from that 403B account and roll that over into and do something known as a Roth conversion with those dollars. Now, when you do the conversion, you're going to have to pay tax on the monies that you're converting. But now when it's sitting in the Roth IRA account, think of the monies that you're transferring conceptually like the contribution, even though it's known as the rollover, the conversion, and then your rate of return is going to be based on, obviously, the growth. So when you have that power of compound interest that's working in that account, if it's sitting underneath a Roth IRA account, all these monies are going to grow tax-free. And also when it comes time for retirement, you can pull your monies out tax-free. So that's known as Roth conversion opportunities. So some of the more common mistakes, which I touched up on, but is probably the most important, is really your risk tolerance. What are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to be aggressive? If so, what is your risk? What is your risk? Are you risk tolerant or are you risk averse? If you're risk averse, well, then maybe you shouldn't be leveraging, very risky investments. And if you're risk tolerant, maybe you shouldn't be leveraging conservative related investments. So that's where really understanding what your risk score is, what your risk tolerance is, that's going to really, control the ship and help you create what's going to be the best strategy that will accomplish your retirement goals, whether that be a retirement income goal, retirement growth related goal, really, giving you that retirement success. Also, what are the current options available within your 403B account versus the available options within an IRA account? What are ultimately your goals? What is your point A? What is your point B, your ideal retirement date? And then how do you get from point B until date of death successfully? Can you do that all by just sitting into the 403B account with those limited options? Or are there other options that now you could cherry pick and say, okay, I have this $500,000 sitting in the 403B account. I'm going to go and leverage out of this $500,000. I'm going to place one into IRA number one. I'm going to put, $200,000 into IRA number one. That's going to produce me an income stream. I'm going to throw $100,000 into IRA number two, which is going to be aggressively invested. I'm going to have, another 100,000 sitting into a fixed IRA. I'm going to leverage another 100,000. I'm just going to essentially, leave it into some sort of money market position, something that doesn't have any sort of risk that I could just kind of pull from for withdrawals in case of oh my gosh moment was to occur. So ultimately, you can take one 403B account and create multiple IRAs within that by, leveraging the mechanisms the correct way. And it really just comes down to math. Do you want to optimize your goal or do you want to go and leverage all your money in the wrong direction? Like as an example, rather than go and force your monies to be subject to the growth, the ebbs and flows of the market, well, this is why if you have an income-related need, create an income strategy. If you have a growth-related need, create a growth-related strategy. Don't use an income strategy for a growth need. Don't use a growth strategy for an income need or an emergency-related need. Make sure to stick each one to its lane and you optimize that specific lane. If you have high fees in your 403B account and you could have lower fees with better options with your IRA, mathematically, if it makes mathematical sense, why would you not do that? And then really focus on a plan, not just a portfolio. Don't just have this bucket that's sitting there and say, oh, I hope everything's going to work out. That's just basically a portfolio. It's not a plan. Create a plan. And this is something that we help individuals out on a daily basis by calling into our company or visiting our website at FosseFinancial.com, or obviously reviewing the different videos on our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, or calling our 1-800 number, 1-800-566-1002. And even though there could be a bunch of different moving parts, the process is not complicated. Typically what happens is an individual takes their full 403B, they roll it over into an IRA, and then from there they could transfer their IRA into multiple IRAs that are now each IRA is serving that specific purpose. So from a paperwork standpoint, it typically is easiest to do a lump sum from one to one. So from a qualified 403b account to a qualified pre-tax IRA account. And then from there, once it's sitting in the IRA, then it's very easy to go and transfer it into these different things. If you're leveraging insurance companies or bank companies, or you're just using different custodians, maybe the 403b account was with Fidelity, but now you have an IRA that's set up with Charles Schwab. So you want to just go and leverage those chips and leverage those mechanisms correctly. And this really is just based on your goals. If your goals do not warrant a different IRA to IRA transfers and customized IRAs, well, then don't drive yourself crazy. If you're fine and this 403b account is just essentially a fun account and you don't want to deal with the headache, well, then obviously don't leverage your chips the correct way. If you're fine with just kind of having a portfolio that's sitting there, and that's not going to stress you out, or, kind of setting it up and diversifying amongst different IRAs is going to stress you out, well, try to have the least amount of stress throughout retirement. But by kind of staying within the three things scenario, making sure your income's covered, your emergency need is covered, and your growth is covered, that's how, individuals typically have the most efficient, retirement success along the way. So I know there's a lot of information in this video. I hope you did find value in that. If you are interested in speaking with an advisor, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. And we could set you up a specific to the advisor's calendar that works specifically with what your schedule is. You can also ask to speak to me directly. My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com, AfasiFinancial.com, and the YouTube channel Retire Sharp. If you found value in this video, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel Retire Sharp so you can have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.